As I have gone through ministry for so many years, I have found that there are wonderful high points, but there are also low points. And sometimes those low points can be really, really difficult. And you look around and you wonder, where is God? Well, that's what happened to me. I've been in the ministry for maybe 38 or 39 years. And I hit two situations. One situation was, after all those years, my wife and I decided we'd like to build a house, which building a house together is like tantamount to a divorce. It's very difficult. At the same time, I had difficulties in my ministry. I got a new boss, and he had a totally different idea. And so I took it to the nth degree. I felt like, oh, they don't care about me, they don't like me, they don't know what I do. You know, it was all my internal stuff. It wasn't true, but it was all my internal stuff coupled with the money, and it's got worse and worse. And I got more despondent. I must admit, I did not respond, I guess, the way you're supposed to. I didn't respond in faith, whatever. I just got more discouraged. I didn't have the money to pay for the house, the overruns. I didn't know if I was in God's will or not. I think I became depressed, but I never put it in terms like that. And I'd sit in my office trying to write on a talk or whatever, and I just sit there and look at the paper, look at the Bible. It just became all blurry in my heart. And I'd cry out to God, Lord, how am I going to handle this? I don't know. I didn't know how to handle this. And I got to tell you this. We moved into the house. I didn't know where the money was going to come to pay. I knew there were cost overruns. I would go out jogging, and I would pray that while I'm jogging, God would burn the house down. Because I didn't know how to handle this. It was outside of my realm. One day I came home from the office, and I sat Paula down on the couch. And I said, honey, I have the answer, the solution to all of our problems. And that is that I die. Because if I die, you'll get money from the insurance to pay off this house, and you'll get another husband, because I'm not a very good one. That's a low I got in my life. And at the same time, God was blessing the ministry. You know, the few things that I was able to do, God was blessing those things. And I couldn't put this all together. I was so confused inside. And I started to study all the doubts in the Bible. A lot of people doubted God all through the scriptures. Even his closest friends doubted him. So I felt pretty good. I mean, I got all these doubters. Hey, I'm one of them. But the thing that got me was that God did not reject them because they asked questions. I began to realize that even though I was going through such difficulties, so many doubts, that God was not against me. He was not rejecting me, that he still had something for me. That was huge in my life. I would pray morning after morning, Lord, show me, clear up my doubts, clear up the struggles that I'm having. So God, you've got to help me work through this in my life. You've got to help me, Father, to come out of the pit of despondency. You know, there are a lot of people in the Bible that went through the pit of despondency. A lot of people had their desert experiences like Paul or like Elijah. I never could empathize with them. Now I can empathize. Now my soul was connected to these people in the scriptures that went through such difficulty. Where is God? Jonah in the belly of the whale. And I realized, you know, no matter how low I get, there is the grace of God underneath me. I've told people, I have looked over the edge of the abyss and I've seen the grace of God. That's it. It is the grace of God. Because at any time you got to cut the string and I'd been destroyed. That's how delicate I was. It took me 2.5 years to go through this deep, deep time. But as I came out, God gave me some scriptures in my soul. 2 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 9, when Paul was asked the Lord, take away this problem he had, God said, no. And then Paul said, well, most gladly, therefore, I'd rather boast about my weaknesses that the power of Christ might be shown. That became real to me. I've been there what Paul's talking about. It wasn't a theory. It wasn't a theological concept. I was there. And as I started coming out, Paul turned to me and she said, Dick, someday you're going to tell people the valley that you went through. And I said, no, I'm never going to tell anybody. It is too personal. It is too deep. It is too sensitive. You know, God's grace is funny because he brought people in my meetings who would ask me questions. And I couldn't lie. So God started having me talk about the deep waters that I went through. And I found out people responded to that. Yeah, you know, I'm trying to serve the Lord, but I got this cover up. I said, it's not worth covering up. It is better to get out in the open, to talk about it, to seek for help, to learn how to walk through this thing, knowing that God's grace is always there for you. Wow, it was like liberation because God's grace is right there at the edge of the abyss. He could pull you back. You trust him. The grace of God is sufficient, no matter what you're facing.